Hello and welcome to Where the Bush is Burning. I'm your host, Tom Tice. Each week we gather together and have a conversation about Christ. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all of you who have been watching and those who have been responding. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and appreciate your participation. Today we're going to continue to look at Christophanies in the Old Testament. We've been doing that for quite some time, and I feel like it's been worthwhile for us to do that. And we've been in the book of Daniel in the last few weeks. We've talked about the three Hebrew children. We've talked about Daniel in the lion's den. And then today we want to talk about an experience that Daniel had. And I'm just going to read you a passage of scripture from Daniel chapter 7. This is in the heart of the chapter. There we find in verse 9, I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels a burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him, 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was sealed, and the books were opened. I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. I was watching in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. Quite a remarkable vision which Daniel has there. And once again, as we have been looking at Christophanies or pre-incarnate appearances of Christ, so we see one here. Now, this particular passage of Scripture has been pored over, analyzed, broken apart. People have speculated about what it all means. It begins, if you look at the beginning of the chapter, with some dreams and visions which Daniel had, and he sees all these beasts, lion, another beast like a bear, then he sees one like a leopard, and then a fourth that is dreadful and terrible and kind of a mixture of various animals. So this is what Daniel sees. Now, that passage of scripture that I wrote to you, or that I read to you rather, is a passage of scripture that discusses an appearance of Christ. And I think we can safely say that it is. There is this whole business of the Ancient of Days on the throne. And that particular vision of the Ancient of Days, as we see it, looks remarkably like other descriptions that we have in Scripture of Christ. So you have the Ancient of Days seated upon the throne. And then after the description goes forth in the passage about the Ancient of Days, you have this one like the Son of Man. So there's obviously at least two of the members of the Trinity involved here, or this is Christ in his glory as the Ancient of Days, and then this other thing occurs where the Son of Man occurs. I think it's more likely that what you're seeing is the glory of God, the Father, and then the Son appearing as the Son of Man. That seems to be more like what's going on here. Because as soon as the Son of Man appears, he receives dominion. He receives the rulership, the authority, the keys to the kingdom, if you want to call it that. He is given, as it describes, dominion and glory and a kingdom that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion's an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. His kingdom, the one which shall not be destroyed. So I think it's reasonably clear that when we start talking about the Son of Man, this is without question Christ himself. Because if we go back to, for example, Psalm 110, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. Your people shall be willing in the day of your power. We see 1 Corinthians 15, where it speaks of Christ as he must reign till God's put all his enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. So the Son of Man, as we see him here, is, so far as I can ascertain, a Christophany, a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ in this passage. So, having said that, what you find in this 7th chapter, and as we go on to look into the rest of the book of Daniel and some of the revelations that are there, what we find is that as Christ stands up for his people and as Christ preserves his people, so Christ also informs his people. Now, there's been an astronomical amount of study and speculation about these passages of Scripture at this section of the book of Daniel. There's this whole discussion about the end of the world, eschatology. There's a lot of speculation, and there have been many people who over the course of years have spent their time contemplating what this means, especially in eschatological terms. They carry it over into the book of Revelation, make the connections and all of that. I understand why people would do that, and I appreciate the effort that people have put in to do that kind of work. However, the fact of the matter is, and I think that this is where I personally have landed, when Christ returns, and he will, when Christ returns, everyone's eschatology will be revised. Everyone's understanding of the doctrine of last things is going to be revised. And most people, or many people who have done this work, probably have a certain number of things about which they are right, and they probably have a certain number of things about which they are wrong. And I think that's just generally true. I think it's true for all of us. I think we have some very, very clear things about which we are absolutely correct. Christ is returning. He's going to return in power and great glory. He's going to sit upon the throne of his glory. He's going to separate all of humanity as a shepherd would divide the sheep from the goats. There are some very clear things that we know about. There are some other things that we can only speculate and think, well, I think this is how this will happen, but I could very well be wrong. And I think when Christ returns, I think we have to recognize that all of our understanding of the doctrine of last things, all of our eschatology, is going to have some revision to it. And we're going to find out that there are things about which we were correct, and we're going to find out that there are things about which we were not correct. That being said, what we want to understand is that Christ here is informing Daniel about things to come. And what appears more than anything else is that Christ is going to rule and Christ is going to reign. So it's important for us to understand that in this particular context. God knows the end from the beginning, and by that what I mean is this: he knows all that occurs in human history. He's foreordained whatsoever comes to pass. So he knows how all of this turns out. He knows the timeline. He knows the sequence. He knows all of those things. And he has informed us to the degree that he has desired to inform us so that we can follow him. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but those which are revealed belong to us and to our children, that we may observe to do all the words of his law. That is, that we might follow God. God has intended for us to know certain things. He has not intended for us to know everything. But the one thing that to me is the most important out of this particular passage of Scripture that we are looking at this morning is that Jesus shall indeed reign. Christ will get the glory. Christ will sit on his throne, and Christ will do all that is necessary in order to gather together his redeemed people. So as we look at this passage of scripture this morning, I want us to consider that Christ is at the center of history. He is at the center of history all the way from the very beginning to the very end. Christ is the central theme. And his coming we find described in the Old Testament in prefigurement and types and shadows and signposts. We find in the Gospels his actual incarnation. We find in the rest of the scripture all the preparation for his second coming. But what we want to understand above all and over all is that Jesus shall indeed reign where'er the sun does his successive journeys run. Christ is going to be on the throne, and Christ is at the end going to divide the sheep from the goats. Christ is going to be at the end render judgment against all those who are his enemies. It is Christ that we must center upon in our thinking. He is the one in the largest sense who is the Redeemer. He is the one in the narrowest sense who is the good, the great, and the chief shepherd to us all who are his redeemed. So when I come to this passage of Scripture, I don't intend to get into all the eschatological theories and all the speculations. I don't intend to get into all the nuts and bolts that people have tried to parse out throughout the years. What I intend most of all for us to do is to contemplate here that Daniel, an ancient prophet of God, saw Christ in his glory, saw him set down upon the throne, saw dominion given unto him, and saw that his kingdom is the kingdom that is going to last forever. God informs his people of what he wants them to know. God informs us of what he wants us to know. So regardless of what the circumstances happen to be at any given point in history, whether your culture is disintegrating, whether you feel that the nation in which you are living is under the judgment of God, whether you think that the end of the world is near, regardless of what you happen to think about any given thing at any given point in time, what you want to appreciate above all else is that Christ is seated upon the throne. He is going to receive all glory. He's going to receive all power. He's going to receive all dominion. He's going to be the one to whom all humanity looks, and he will be the judge of the living and the dead. And his kingdom is the one which is going to last forever. So that really, as simple and as straightforward as I can make it today, is our conversation about Christ. Why does this really matter to me? Well, it matters to me because if I know Christ, then I know who's in control. If I know Christ, then I know who knows the end from the beginning, who knows everything that I don't know, who has control of all the things over which I have absolutely no control. Christ is the one who is the key individual to whom we must constantly refer and upon whom we must constantly contemplate, or whom we must constantly contemplate and upon whom we must consistently concentrate. Because Christ is the one who is not only our Redeemer, he is also our shepherd, he is also our friend, he is also the one who will lead us through this lifetime with whatever it brings all the way to the eternal kingdom. And that he will rule and reign forever, and that his kingdom and his dominion shall never cease. And at this particular time of year, as we go towards the end of the year, I want you to contemplate this as you leave this year and go into the next year. Christ is still in control. He shall be in control. He will get all the glory at the end. And so if you know him, then you know who really is in charge. And you can rest in that and be at peace, knowing that all the other circumstances which occur all around you and perhaps even within your own close sphere, all those things are under the control of the sovereign God and the saving Christ. So that's our conversation today. I trust that you find it useful. I hope it's encouraging to you. If you would like to get our devotional, you may find it at hopeharbor.church. That's hopeharbor.church. Or you may find it at Substack. It's on Substack as well. So you're welcome to find it in either of those places. This video will be on Substack as well. Do like and subscribe if you would, please, and join us again in another week as we contemplate the things of Christ and have conversations about Christ. We know him, and he knows all, and he tells us everything that we need to know in due course of time. Thank you for joining us today. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate those of you who are speaking up. Thank you for letting us know that you're listening and watching, and we appreciate you very much. All the best.